years ago, I asked a young adult member, 청년부, I said, they had just come back from their retreat, and I said to this brother, I said, how was your retreat? He replied to me like this. He said, it was good, but it wasn't really what I was expecting. It wasn't what he thought he was going to get. And I thought that answer was a little bit interesting, because what he was essentially saying was that he didn't receive that close connection with God that he had anticipated. He didn't have that awe-inspiring, cheer-producing connection with God, that glorious moment with God that we all get in retreats. The thing is, I know exactly what he meant. And I have a feeling that many of you guys here know exactly what he meant as well. Because we all crave those glory moments. We need those up close with God moments because we feel as though this is how God works. When we search for Him out of the confines of our messy life, when we remove everything and sit purposely with Him, glory happens. We don't like to go home after church and wash the dishes. We don't like to go home after church and move into 6 days of routine, of fighting through traffic as we go to work, reading hundreds of pages of homework. We don't want any of those things. We want to be purposely with God so that we can feel, so that we can experience His glory. So Peter says in this text, it is good for us to be here. But before Peter could even finish talking, before he could even explain why he wanted to build these homes, God interrupts him. This is my Son with whom I am well pleased. Listen to Him. God doesn't say, continue to build your tents, Peter. He doesn't say, continue to escape from the brokenness of your life, Peter. Continue to seek out these glory moments, Peter. God instead says, this is my Son. Listen to Him. Notice here also that God doesn't say, listen to Moses or listen to Elijah. Don't listen to Moses, the one who brought the law, the one who saved His people from Egypt. God doesn't say, listen to him. God doesn't say, listen to Elijah, the prophet who had restored God's people from all of their brokenness. God says, listen to my Son, Jesus. Listen to Him. Listen to my beloved Son who fulfills the law and the prophets. Listen to Jesus who comes to save. Listen to Him who enters into the messiness of your life. God always loves His creation. God always loves His people. God desires to save His people. And this moment right here on the mountaintop is where God reveals the simple truth that no messiness of life can keep His desire for love and saving out of the picture. What God does instead is He drives right into the thick of our messiness, and He comes through Jesus Christ. Listen to Him. Now, we didn't read all of chapter 17 today. And for the most part, whenever we hear of Jesus' transfiguration story, we don't read all of it. But do you know what happens after this glorious moment where Jesus' face shines and His clothes are beaming and God speaks? Jesus tells His disciples to get up. Don't be afraid. And then they move down the mountain. God's glory is not saved for mountaintop experiences. God's glory goes down the mountain into the messiness of everyday life. That's where God's glory goes. Jesus tells His disciples, get up, don't be afraid, and then goes down to the mountain. Down to the mountain where people are stricken with demons. Down to the mountain where fathers run up to Jesus and said, please Jesus, save my son, he's dying. Down to the mountain where tax collectors unfairly knock on the doors of people who don't have money and collect taxes. Down to the mountain where disciples still don't know who Jesus is about and argues amongst themselves. Am I the greatest? Am I the greatest? God's glory does not reserved itself on top of the mountain. God's glory goes down into the messiness and then the everydayness of our everyday life. Because just as much as our life never hits the pause button, we are empowered by the fact that God never hits the pause button either. His glory enters into your 6 days of routine at home, at school, at work. His glory enters into the worries of your mind, into the anxieties of your heart, the uncertainties of your future. And like a tire that spins and continues to spin, so too does God's glory. In the thick of your life's journey, in the deepened trudge of your emotions, in the sludge of our existence, God's glory does not stop. He is up in the mountain, but He's also in the valley. A few months ago, I was talking to one of our brothers in the fellowship hall, and he had on this pretty cool t-shirt. And if you know me, you know I collect t-shirts. I love t-shirts. And this t-shirt had periodic table of elements right smack in the middle of his chest. Is he here? Anyway, periodic table of elements. And I went up to him and I said, wow, that's such a cool shirt. And this brother said to me, yeah, I love this shirt too because it reminds me of God. And I looked at him as if he was a little bit weird. Because when I think about God, I think about greatness, right? I think about maybe a picture of someone loving another, maybe a great light or something. But here was this chemical table of elements, and he's like, yeah, it reminds me of God. I said, oh, can you explain that? And in his English, he was more Korean than English, but in his English he told me that every element that was on his shirt was a representation that God was there. That God creates, that God is in existence, that God shines His light, and that there is nothing else in creation where God isn't there. Every single element of the world represented by God. God's glory is not only for the mountaintop experiences, it is for the everyday messiness of our everyday life. Amen to that, brother, wherever you are. Now today we get a little glimpse of the glory from the mountaintop. We come today in the worship service of our communion. And God comes to us through this bread and through this wine. And He says, this is my glory. My Son, Jesus Christ. Listen to Him. This is my glory. God in human flesh. Coming into the messiness of your life. Wanting to be in the messiness of your life so badly that He went to the cross on your behalf. Now, as people who receive this glory here, after the sermon we're going to come up here, we're going to partake in communion. As people who receive this glory, it is our responsibility to take this glory out into the everyday, regular messiness of our life. And if there's someone out there who is suffering, if there's someone out there who are in the trenches of messiness, it is our job as His saved, as His children, as His servants, to take this glory, to take God's glory out into the valleys of the world. God comes. God saves. And He does it, not just in the mountaintop experiences, but in our everyday, messy life. Let's go to God in prayer. Lord, these are such great moments when we come to church and when we worship You. Such awesome moments, such tear-jerking moments, sometimes such emotion-filled moments when we come into Your presence and we sing out loud and we hear our brothers and sisters singing in unison and crying out for Your name. Your glory fills this room in such a tangible way. And and we come and we hear your word, and it fills our hearts, and it fills our minds, and it fills our souls, and we think to ourselves, what a glorious mountaintop experience. That you remind us today, Lord, that your glory is not only for these mountaintop experiences. Your glory is especially for the valley ones. Your glory goes down the mountain into our everyday life. And so as we move out of this church today, and as we go into our Monday to Friday, as we go into the other 6 days of the week, allow us to remember, O Lord, that your glory is just as present there in our everyday, regular life as it is here. Help us to remember, O Lord, that your glory and your grace is right there in all the brokenness of our everyday life, just as much as it is here in the glory of your church. Lord, as we come before you in fellowship, as we come to your table, as we eat your bread and as we drink your wine, Lord, help us to remember that your glory takes us out of this church and into the world. For those of us, O Lord, who are especially in the thick and in the messiness of our life, we ask for an extra bit of your grace. We ask for an extra bit of your glory. May you fill us up today, and may you remind us that your glory